I'm Geni Whitehouse. I'm a CPA, Keynote Presenter, author, and co-founder of a bookkeeping business. And I'm also a part-time winery consultant. So now let's talk about what to look for in a cloud hosting provider. The first thing you want to know about is what the infrastructure design is going to look like. You want to understand the elements of the data center setup and specifically where that data center is going to be located. You want to make sure you know where the data centers are located. That's important because obviously you don't want it to be located in an earthquake zone. Next, you want to make sure that part of that infrastructure includes high-performance computers that will meet your needs so that you have the kind of performance that you expect and require. Finally, you want to make sure that you have 3 levels of security so that you have controlled user access so that the people that you want to access the data are controlled and can access the information when they need to, but other folks can't get access to your critical client or business data. Next, you want to make sure that there's network level security, and that includes information and firewalls at that point. Finally, you want to make sure that the data center has high security standards and that the physical environment is going to be secure and also protected from things like fires and floods and all that other stuff. So that's the first element that we need to master when we're considering a provider. Next, you want to look at the service level agreement, and that is a document that spells out all of the expectations that you have in terms of the relationship with your hosting provider. You want to make sure there's a documented list of what they provide for you. The terms and conditions are spelled out, including the billing and payment and contract terms, and then what kind of compensation you might expect in the event there is some sort of a failure on that relationship. Then you've got to worry about backups, critical component. Having gone through a hosting scenario where things didn't go so well, you want to make sure that you understand where that backup is actually stored. You don't want it stored in the same place as your live data. You want to find out how often your information is going to be backed up. You want to know that you have not just a file backup, but also redundant hard drives that are being backed up, multiple server backups, and then also data center backups so that you have all the protection that you need. Then you want to know how long that backup that you have is going to be maintained by that hosting provider. Next, you want to make sure that you understand their business continuity and disaster recovery plans, because obviously disasters do happen and they seem to happen at a more increasing rate in the United States these days. So what's their data replication policy and how can they rebuild that environment so that you can continue to function in the event there's a problem? Next, what's their uptime guarantee? If you have a 99.99% uptime guarantee, that means you're only likely to be out at a maximum of 6 minutes in the course of the year. That's pretty good. Anything less than that, you might have to worry about. Next, what is the support response time that your provider is going to deliver for you? If they say 24/7 support, what does that exactly mean? Does that mean you're going to have a voicemail response where you leave a message and wait for the answer? Or you're going to have live people there at the phone available by chat and email who are actually responding to your needs? I don't know about you, but when I'm working on a Sunday at midnight and I have a problem, I want them to call me right then. I don't want to wait till Monday when it's too late to meet my client demand. So it's critical that you have the people behind you when you have a problem. Next, you want to understand the pricing policies. Are the pricing policies outlined clearly so you understand what you're paying for? Do you know when something's going to incur an additional charge? Do you know how it's computed and when you're going to be billed? And can you get copies of the bills? You'd think that would be an easy thing to do, but sometimes you can't even find out what you're paying and how it's computed. The next thing you need to know is that your service provider can actually configure a solution to meet your unique requirements. You want a box and an environment that does everything you need, no more or no less. And if your requirements are unique and more complicated or process heavy, you want to make sure you can get an environment configured that supports your business the way you need it. So you want to also be able to configure based on users, computing power, storage capabilities, and RAM, and you want a device that again meets your needs. Finally, you really need to understand what kind of user experience this provider is going to provide you. It's really critical that the users in your organization can get the work done in a way that works for them. How easy is it going to be for them to get into the environment, to get your data migrated to that system, and then to work on a regular basis in that environment? Migrating data is something you need to be really clear on with that service provider. You need to understand what the services will be during that process and if there's going to be an additional charge to move your data into that environment. You also want to have access to training and support for all of your users, again, when you need it. The next thing you want to do is to check out customer reviews so you understand what people like you think about the system that you're considering. You want to go to Search Engine, you want to go to Google and Facebook and see what's out there in the marketplace about that provider that you might be considering. I don't know about you, but I've actually been through a hosting provider problem. We actually had a ransomware attack when my data was stored in a private cloud. My data was down, my team was down, we had huge outages. There were other folks that actually had tax systems that were unable to function. And so having a clear understanding of all of these components is critical to your own business success and continuity.